Greetings, Gemini. My name is Gabriel, and these are going to be your monthly messages, your monthly forecast for the month of December 2019. I read Lenormand. I also read tarot and an oracle called the Vera Sibilla, which is an Italian oracle from the 18th century. I didn't think that Lenormand was getting a lot of representation on YouTube. There are plenty of people who do, monthly forecasts or daily draws with, different oracle decks or with, tarot, of course. There are plenty of people doing that kind of thing, but you don't really see a whole lot of grand tableaus. And I think perhaps there could be a couple of reasons for that. I think some people feel almost intimidated by a grand tableau. Plenty of people don't even really know what Lenormand is. Some people maybe, unfortunately, have this idea that Lenormand is kind of a lesser oracle, or maybe that it doesn't really have that capacity to speak to, deep, spiritual things the way that tarot does, or the way that maybe some oracle decks do. And I don't know, I really don't think that that's the case. It's a system that I love. It's a system that, if I say so myself, I instantly kind of fell in love with it, I love the way that it really requires you to kind of lean into your spirit guides or into your ancestors, into your spiritual constellation, to find the inspiration, to see the signatures in the cards and to see what they're saying. It's really something I'm super passionate about. I've been reading Lenormand for 6 or 7 years. Family, friends, things like that. I grew up seeing some of the older women in my family read tarot. And so, I don't know, it's kind of always been around. And so we're just shuffling these here. And so what I'll be doing is putting down a grand tableau for people of the sign Gemini, Sun, Moon, and Rising. And we'll look at the general messages. We'll just kind of see whatever jumps out. Looking for signs from Gemini. All right, that's it. Pardon me while we readjust here, just to make sure we get everything in the frame. There we go. Wow. So Gemini, the first thing that comes up for me here, so I don't know, pardon that shake there. I'm not sure how well you're actually able to see all of these cards. Obviously, I kind of have them overlapped a little bit here. But the two significators, we have the man here and the woman here. The way that I have come to read the cards over time, over my daily draws, over the readings I've done for other people, I don't really place a lot of, how should I say it? Uh, I think you could be one or the other, right? I don't really gender typify um, the male or the female, especially in a reading such as this where it's for a whole bunch of people. Um, I'll kind of be playing off of both of them, and I think you could find messages that kind of fit from either one. Maybe there are some messages that kind of will stem from the placements around the man card that could be specific to you if you're a woman, even though you're a woman, or if you're a man, there could be things that come from placements around the woman card. I just think that they're kind of like two common starting points, really, as opposed to really being super gender specific, at least in this type of reading. So Gemini, to get into it, I think that a huge focus for you is going to be on your sense of stability, especially your sense of stability at work. Specifically with your career. I don't think that there are problems with money or with your actual cash flow. I don't think it's going to be a month where you have a lot of issues with being able to pay your bills. I think that that's going to be fine. That's going to be kind of stable. I don't see there being major disruptions there, but really your work and your identity at your job, I think, is something that's going to be kind of, it's going to be on your mind. It's going to be something that kind of gnaws away at you or gnaws away at your sense of peace. Maybe not in a bad way, maybe not in a way that's kind of like, you're wrought with anxiety or anything like that, but it's something that you're maybe thinking about. What am I doing? Am I putting a lot of myself into my job? Do I see myself in my work? Do I see myself doing this job for forever? I think you've had maybe some new ideas about things that you could be doing with your time. Perhaps you're thinking about going back to school. Perhaps you're thinking about maybe committing to some type of change. Here we have rider, ring, book, and then cross. So this combination kind of talks about like a pretty major change in maybe learning the way that you, perhaps going back to school, finishing a degree, getting a new type of certification. Maybe it's not changing your job per se, but it's maybe changing your role by getting some type of certification, some type of promotion, maybe at work. Maybe it's not like a vertical promotion, but maybe like a lateral move into a different type of job. For those of you who are kind of involved in some type of corporate work, I think it's also really possible that you could be getting into some type of contractual work or working for yourself. If that is the case, I think it's going to be a long time before that really stabilizes, a long time before you really feel super comfortable doing work for yourself or working from home. But I think your sense of stability at your job, your sense of identity with your job, I think is going to be at the forefront of your mind this month. I think you're in a position where you're ready to kind of flex your muscles and show your authority. I actually think it's really important that you do that. The energy that we have kind of coming into the month is the bear. The bear is, it's like that CEO energy. It's a boss vibe, right? The felt sense of the bear is somebody who's able to throw their weight around, maybe sometimes irresponsibly and maybe sometimes in a childish way, but the potential is there for you to flex your muscles, specifically, I think, at work or with your job, whatever you do for most of your day. Um, there's a potential there for you to throw your weight around or flex your muscles or use your words powerfully to shake things up and to change things. Unfortunately, I think there's always a rose and a thorn, and I think the thorn of this situation is that if you're not really careful, you can come across as being very childish. And it's going to be really, really key that all of that kind of is rooted in compassion. Compassion, dialogue, and then, the stork is one of those cards that can mean all kinds of things. We can't really see it here, right there. It has kind of like a mothering energy. There's a nurturing quality to the stork. There's also a cyclical, seasonal change type quality. The stork is always things getting better. It's always things improving, situations that are ameliorating, knots coming undone. I think it's going to be really important that you root yourself in solutions. Always use your words creatively in a sense that they create and not destroy. And make sure you stay rooted in compassion, right? That's going to be ultimately important this month. Whatever type of, maybe it's not a situation with your job, but really how you assert yourself is going to have a lot of power this month. And that power can be used creatively or destructively. And I think one of the messages here is that you need to focus on using that creatively because the potentiality is there for things to get all messed up as well. There's a potential for surprise arguments, surprise disagreements here as well. There is also maybe a potential for you to go about this situation and to maybe misstep and to make things ultimately infinitely more complicated by one tiny thing, right? For you to make real changes at this time, I mean, it's kind of like you're, it's the energy that I'm getting is like you're holding a nuclear bomb, right? And it's about to go off. And perhaps that could be a good thing because maybe there are some structures in your life that you're ready to kind of get rid of and that you're ready to replace. I think it could be ultimately possible that you could maybe be careless with that as well and lose a lot of things that are really important to you, perhaps a lot of friends. So make sure that you're super careful with your words. Make sure that you stay rooted in compassion this month. The heart obviously represents compassion, love, all of the emotions of the heart. And it's next to the anchor here, which is stabilized, next to the key as well. And here you are. So it's ultimately very, very important that you keep your emotions stable throughout the month. Listen to your intuition. We have birds and the stars here. Something that I always think about with the birds, I think the ancient Greeks said, I mean, I don't know, it's in one of these like ancient grimoires, right? Where they teach you how to like, I don't know, summon demons or, some awful shit like that. But they said that when spirits are made manifest in this world, they sound like bird chatter. And I always kind of think about that whenever I see the bird card here. Next, especially when it's paired to stars, which is guidance, information. It's kind of the opposite of this kind of super grounded energy here. But maybe in a positive way, like it's the opposite balance. Make sure that you listen to the highest guidance. Listen to, your gut. Listen to the people who know best around you, the sources around you that you trust, people who are in positions of authority. I think it's going to be really, really important for you to kind of seek out those people whenever you're trying to make an important decision, or whenever you're kind of framing yourself to have an important conversation this month. It's going to be really, really important that you kind of go to the people who know the best. And that could be maybe a trusted colleague at work. Maybe it could be a trusted member of your family if the changes that you're looking to make are, in a interpersonal relationship in that sphere. It could be your partner. Before you do anything, I think it's really, really important for you to talk it out with somebody who's not connected to it, and with somebody who really doesn't have any stake in the game. And because there's so much potential for things to get really shifted around, and you really owe it to yourself to take like 5 steps back before you do anything, and to really look and think about what you're going to do and how you're going to do it and what you're going to say. Seek out a neutral soundboard. For those of you, and this is where we'll kind of gender specify, for those, especially Gemini women, if you are single and you're looking for a relationship this month, I don't really think this is a good month for that, to be really frank with you. I think it's a really good month to stay rooted in yourself. I can see here that that's maybe something that's important to you, that sense of commitment. I can see that that's kind of ultimately on your mind. But really, it's a very unstable time for that in your life. You need to stay rooted within yourself. It's not the month for it, at least according to these cards here. It's a month to focus on you, and it's a month to become rooted in the life that you have right now before you look at bringing somebody else in. For those of you Gemini women who are in a relationship, I think it's going to be really important this month that you learn to be comfortable with situations changing. There's going to be a lot of flux this month. And it's ultimately important that you keep things very simple. The coffin down here, the coffin can mean, I think, a couple things. Obviously, it doesn't just mean that something is ending, but it also kind of has that open, shut, very simple quality. This is the way things are. This is what we're doing. This is what we're going to do. Simplicity, I think, is an ultimate message in everything that you do, right? Keep things very, very simple, because there's lots of potentiality for change. And the simpler that you keep your interactions with your words, the more concise language that you use, the more you root yourself in compassion and wisdom, the more you wait for the invitation, I think, in all things this month, the cleaner you're going to come out, the cleaner your side of the street is going to be. Especially in your interpersonal relationships as well. So coffin is surrounded by snake and the stork here. really, really watch the words that you say. I think it could be possible that you could kind of be poisoning your relationship, or, you know, I definitely know how it feels to speak out of anger or to say something, you know, bitchy to or asshole-ish to the people that I care about. You know, those are always the people who get it the worst, right? And just be really careful of that this month, because there's potential for that to get really out of hand and for that to grow. For Taurus men, I think it's really important that you focus on your health. I think it's going to be really, and this is actually really interesting because this was, you know, no matter how well we shuffle the cards, sometimes you kind of see the same cards falling next to one another. So we have the ways, garden, house, and then we have tree, which one of the signifiers of tree is health, next to one of the people, right? Whether it be you or Taurus, Gemini men. I think it's going to be important for you to focus on your health, especially getting out of the house, right? Doing something new. Put yourself in a situation where you're out, like literally outside. Go for a walk. Instead of running in the gym on the treadmill, run outside. I think it's going to be really, really quality for your mental health. You know, sometimes we just don't get enough fresh air. I think they said, you know, 20 minutes of time outdoors just does wonder for the, you know, for your mind, for your health, getting the fresh air, getting the sunshine. Try to focus on getting outside a little bit more this month. And again, here, I think that this is interesting. So we have tree here in the 36th position. The 36th house is the house of the cross, which we actually have up here as well. Above the cross is the rider. And below it all is the tree. So one of the meanings of the tree is, aside from health, things that are growing, right? The seeds that we've planted that are now growing and bearing fruit. Karma, right? Habituations. And in this regard, it's interesting because a lot of those other messages I was actually pulling from the cards that are around the woman, but like we said, both the woman and the man will often give similar messages. So we have man, and then next to the card which represents karma. And then above that is the card which represents decisions. One of the signifiers of the ship is the soul or the wish, your desire. The tower is things that are firmly implanted, and then cross, a major station of life. You're kind of backed into a corner. You have to choose. This is how things are going to be for now. And the rider, something that is moving towards you. Ultimately, this is a month where you're going to have to make some type of critical decision, some type of critical choice of where you're going to place your energy and your time, and how you're going to express your self-agency. What you're rooted in this month is going to be called into question, and you're really going to have to, I don't know, I mean, you're really going to have to look at whatever sector of life that, I mean, I think it's going to be your job, but it may not be your job. You know, the anchor is really however you spend a majority of your time, whatever you are anchored in, right? So an anchor goes down to the sea floor and it holds the ship in place. Whatever you have made your emotional home this month, I think it could be quite possible that that's going to be called into question in some way. In some critical way, right? It's really going to be something that weighs on your mind. And the positive side of that, I mean, that's a lot of heavy. The positive side is that you also are going to have the power to change it. if you choose to do so, or reframe it if that's what you choose to do. Ultimately, there's no way out of that. The only way is through. This is an energy that you're going to have to abide with. And maybe it's just not bookended with, the first and the last day of December. This is something that's probably going to play out, over the next couple of months, maybe into the beginning of next year. I mean, it's something that could have been already in your life for a while. But I think it's kind of going to come to a boiling point this month, and you're going to have to decide what to do. Or if you want to do something at all. But either way, at least internally, there's a certain type of thought process that you're going to have to go through, where you look at where you have invested your time and your energy. If it's not your job, perhaps it's a relationship, perhaps, I don't know, I mean, it's different for everybody. Where have you set anchor? That's going to be called into question. And you're going to have to go through the process of judging, is this a quality thing for me to have set myself in? Am I really at home here? Am I really the best version of myself doing this thing? Whether it be your job or a relationship. Some part of your identity is going to be called into question, and there's no way to escape it. Ultimately, seek the help from people who know. If it's not a job, perhaps it's a qualified therapist. Maybe it's a trusted friend. It could also be your partner. Somebody whose opinion matters, and somebody who's ultimately cool and removed, right? So stars is guidance. Lily is wise. Another word for stars, it's kind of antiseptic in quality. It's calculated. It's very removed. Somebody who has cool blood about the situation. Those are the people that you need to be surrounding yourself with. Go to those people and have a conversation about however that critical crisis thinking is being made manifest, and have a conversation with them being, hey, this is what's going on, this is what I know, and this is what I need to know. That will ultimately give you a sense of direction, and that's going to be your guidance through this. It's a serious energy, but ultimately it's a gift. There's a potential for great, great change, or at least the seed of great change to be planted this month. So stay rooted in compassion, seek out the guidance of people who know, people who are removed, especially if they are older than you, or if they are in some type of position of seniority, even if it's not an age. Seek those people out. I think they're really going to be the people who kind of open the way for you to get through this situation. Seek out the wise counsel of others. Very good. Well, Gemini, I hope this helped. I hope this gave you some sense of direction. Again, my name is Gabriel. I'm going to release these videos, at least the Grand Tableau videos, once a month with a forecast for the following month. And then hopefully in the future, I have a couple of ideas as well. Perhaps a few things with the Versibilla. I don't know. A couple of things in the play. in the mix. Again, my name is Gabriel. Be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. And thank you so much. Have a good month.